All right, so what's going on, guys? I'm just gonna make a quick video. I mean, it's probably not gonna be a quick video, but it's actually I'm gonna try to make this as in-depth as possible. But I'm gonna be making a video today on how you can restore or like renew your clear coat if it's faded, oxidized, or even like missing in some places. Because I think I've mentioned it before. If I haven't, I'll go ahead and tell you now. My Camaro has some pretty oxidized and like just missing clear coat in some places, and I decided that I'm gonna make a video just kind of documenting everything you're gonna need and everything that I'm gonna do to try and restore this as best as possible. I'm gonna try to provide a list also of everything that I use in the video, so like if you wanted to attempt this yourself, you know, you'll have everything that I use. I'm gonna try to go as like minimalistic and budget friendly as possible, and I know that like fading, oxidizing clear coat is a problem for like everyone really, not just people down here in the south, you know, especially with like how hot it gets here. Because my car was like initially from Maryland, and when I bought it, the clear coat was perfectly fine. And you know, granted that was in 2021. You know, obviously being out here in the Florida sun has obliterated the clear coat in some areas. So I'm gonna go ahead and you know, make a video kind of documenting how you can repair that. And I apologize if I sound kind of nasally. I'm having some pretty like gnarly allergy symptoms, as well as I think a small viral infection, so not necessarily conducive to like good audio, especially with my voice, but you know what, we persevere. We're gonna persevere through this, and I'm gonna try to make a decent video for you guys. So next, I'm just gonna kind of cut to everything you're gonna need to do this project. We're gonna need, I know this isn't the most attractive setup in the world, everything's just kind of sprawled out on the floor here, but I guess first things first is this is the clear coat we're going to be using. So it's going to be Finish 1. I did some research on this, and this is, you know, most likely like the most budget friendly clear coat that you're going to be able to find. So there's a few different versions of it. You know, it depends on like how quickly it's going to flash and that sort of thing. So the 710 and the 613, I believe the 612 is the slower flash, but I went and got the faster flash just because of like how warm it is here. And I like, literally just since I've set up and been out here in the past, I don't know, 20 minutes, the temperature has probably increased by like 10 degrees. So it is fairly uncomfortable out here right now, but you know, that's kind of what influences my decisions here. So next, you need to worry about like your surface prep once you get everything sanded down. So I've gone ahead and got a little spray can of Prep All. There are like large jugs of it if you're gonna do like more of a complete job, like if you're gonna, you know, do like a full respray like of the paint and everything. But I went ahead and got this because I'm only gonna be doing 3 panels. Same thing with the surface prep. Gonna get yourself some Tac-cloths. I've got about a dozen of these for like $7, and then I also have a nice variety of sandpapers. Next, let's talk the gun. This is just a very cheap like DIY gun from Harbor Freight that comes with a built-in regulator. I'll talk more specifics of like what pressures you want to use and that kind of thing a little bit later, and how to change these 2 settings. Again, I'm not a professional painter whatsoever, but I'm fairly educated on this. I've been doing a lot of research in the past couple of days, and like if you get this specific gun, you're definitely going to want to apply some grease or something in here because this will stick. Anyway, so like I said, a nice variety of sandpapers, something to mix your solvents in, or like your clear coats. You can get like the volumetric, you know, paint tins like this that are gonna attach directly to the gun, but again, I'm going nice and budget on this. And then this is what I'm going to use to spray some water for my wet sand. And then you're going to want a really good quality respirator, or I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be quality as long as you get some nice filters that are going to filter out most of the organic and inorganic really nasty like carcinogenic compounds that are going to be in here. And there's a train. So I mean, and I'm also going to be using a rotary polisher to really finalize everything, but I will cross that bridge when we get there. But this is kind of the one last thing. If you have an air compressor like mine, that's going to, like, mine's kind of old and honestly overkill for this project to have a huge air compressor. You're definitely gonna want to get an inline water and oil separator, like little filter, because you do absolutely not want any kind of oil in your finish, because that will just completely destroy it. So that is another note that you're definitely going to want to pay attention to. But other than that, this is everything you're going to need. And since I'm out here, I'm going to go ahead and give you kind of a glance at the spots I'm going to be repairing. So you can see this hip is fairly oxidized. It's lost a lot of that like nice gloss that the rest of the paint has. Up here, the clear coat is just straight up missing on the door, so we're definitely going to have to fix that. And then the roof is the worst. You can't necessarily see it right now just because there's still morning dew, but once I get all that dried off, you'll definitely be able to see kind of what lies beneath the water. Right, so next, realistically, what you'd want to do is kind of decontaminate this area. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Just kind of show you what I'm going to do. Really simply, is just kind of wet the panel. I have some ceramic on there right now, so I'm going to have to take that off, and you can see how well the water's beating off. So that's another thing that your surface prep solvent's going to do. It's going to remove any wax or anything that's going to prevent any kind of water or soap, anything from sticking to it. So, and honestly, I don't really care about this panel because it's going to be sanded down. So we're just going to put a very small dollop of soap on this, and we're going to simply wash down the panel just to kind of remove any kind of dirt or anything that's going to hang out or live in here. Then we're just going to wash it down. So all the way back here, kind of get into any crevices. That's going to be kind of the name of the game. Okay, so I appear to have lost my smaller brush, but if you have any areas like this that are going to be kind of tight and difficult to get to, you're going to want to kind of brush these out as best as possible. Just because I don't want to be clearing over any kind of dirt or anything like that. So just get this kind of stuff nice and cleaned out, so you're not painting over anything disgusting. Okay, so now that our panel's kind of cleaned off, I'm just going to kind of soak it with the water again. I have a hose, but I'm just kind of, I don't know why I'm using this thing right now. This is supposed to be for the wet sanding, but it gets the job done for now. Cool. So essentially that's going to be the name of the game, to kind of prep the surface. I do have the 4 walls to put up on this too once I actually start the painting process, but because it is so hot right now, I don't really want to trap myself in an oven. Okay, right, so lastly, if you have one of these giant microfibers, you can go behind the panel, completely dry it up, see if you left any dirt remains or any kind of nasty stuff that could cause some pitting when you start sanding. You could hit this with a Tac-cloth too once you're ready to go. That's another reason why we have those. But in most cases, just in my very limited experience, something like this will do just fine. Okay, so now that our panel is completely clean, so you can see here, right, with my really dull flashlight, that's appearing to strobe on camera, but it's not actually. You can see the nice portion of the paint versus this really hideously oxidized portion of the clear coat, and you can see the transition here. So honestly, I feel kind of bad about getting rid of the decent portion of the clear coat, but I think for this job to be, I mean, you could still see, you know, some pitting and stuff in this kind of flawed job that was done initially. But you're gonna want to inspect all these little cracks and crevices to see if you left any kind of like dirt or anything like that, because like when you start sanding, that'll kind of create some pitting. But you can see you know, just how bad it is back here. And again, like back onto this decent panel, it's pretty oxidized, but the paint underneath should theoretically be in decent shape. So we'll see once we sand everything and polish it down. Okay, sit rep. It has started to rain slightly, but as you can see, this is my attempt at kind of masking things off under here. You can tell it's definitely starting to rain. That's just, you know, Florida summers. Every afternoon you could expect a thunderstorm, but luckily I have put up the walls here, and I'm just going to kind of finish touching this up, and I will begin the sanding portion. I've already tacked this, you know, just so you can kind of see the surface. You know, again, you can kind of see that transition between the oxidized and the good stuff. But once I get everything, you know, masked off over there and tape this side down, I will begin the sanding process. Okay, so I masked the car the rest of the way off. The wind is getting pretty aggressive, so I may have to postpone the rest of this for like another day. Just pull the cover over the car, take down these walls, and you know, just wait and start again tomorrow morning, because it literally moved that 35-pound plate with all this wind. But I figured I'd go ahead and start the sanding process just so I can, you know, get some feelers out there. So I'm going to start with this 1000 grit. I'm going to wet this all down, and I guess just start. I'm going to start with the oxidized portion first, and then kind of move out here with some lighter grain. But first of all, we're going to start here. It's kind of difficult to do this with one hand, so I'm just going to wet the surface, spray it all down. I have tacked this already. I believe I said that earlier. But man, this thing's really stuck on here. I'm actually going to fold this over, and we're just going to get to work. I presume this shouldn't take that long to get through everything. I mean, you can see it's all kind of dirty right now, but we will continue doing this, and I'll give you an update when I'm about to switch papers. Okay, so I've been through a few cycles of like sanding, like wetting it with my little squeeze bottle, cleaning it off with this, drying it off, and just kind of like inspecting to see if there's any high or low spots. I started with the 1000. It was taking too long, so I dropped down to an 800, and you know, I'm still getting like a lot of like milky precipitate. So I'm switching down to a 600 now. So you can see there are some, I mean, it's wet right now, but you can kind of see it is kind of fading out. So I'm gonna step it down to the 600. Keep wet sanding until it's all red, and then I'm gonna back down, you know, 6, 8, 1000, maybe 1500, but I'll probably just jump straight to 2, 3, and then 5000, and then polish. Okay, so I got some 400, and I'm just gonna kind of show you guys what you should be looking for. So whenever you're sanding it, and you see how that's still really clear, so that's how you, like, it's kind of like that milky color, so that's how you know that that's still clear coat. But I'm gonna come to this section here, right? And so as I'm sanding, you see how there's traces of red in it? So that's how you know you're getting through the clear and into the paint. So that's kind of when you know you can stop and, you know, get ready to take things down a notch. But yeah, you can see the red on the sandpaper. And I would also advise using gloves for this section. Your hands will probably get really sweaty in the gloves. But yeah, see how deep red that is? That's what you're looking for. But yeah, I would definitely wear gloves for this. I'm sure this stuff is pretty harmful, but I digress. Okay, so this is the drying final product after I went all the way down to 5000 grit. As you can see here, I did get a little bit overzealous in one spot trying to do a demonstration, but I'm gonna go buy some base coat and just fill in this one area. I'm about to rotary polish it just to see how much of a mirror I can get. But I mean, the surface itself is really smooth. So I feel like once I tack this and then hit it with the rotary polisher, I think we'll be in a little bit better shape. Okay, so I have gone and purchased some color match. This is actually a Chrysler color because this cayenne red isn't a very common color and it's pretty obscure. So I did some cross matching and this one is pretty close. The Inferno red, you can see it's, you know, it's not a bad color match at all. And I think once the clear gets over it, and like, you know, because this is nice and polished looking and this is, you know, obviously flat because it's been sanded. So I think once I polish everything and blend it all out and once the clear goes over it, I think it'll blend pretty seamlessly, but that remains to be seen. Right, so I have officially removed all the masking, and you know what? I think that's gonna blend out really well. Like once I've got it all polished down and everything, that's a pretty spot on color match. Like between this kind of polished portion and that. So once that gets, you know, sanded and polished down, I have full confidence that that is gonna look very good. So this is where I'm gonna call it today, and I will pick everything back up tomorrow and hopefully finish at least this rear quarter panel. Okay, so I have actually elected to go over everything just one more time with some 5000 grit, just to kind of show you the sanding process and kind of what steps I'm gonna be taking, you know, to get everything nice and sanded down. I have lifted the walls here of the tent just so I can get some decent footage on the GoPro, but you know, I'll start from the back and kind of show you what's going on. So I'm using one of these just like really cheap, like $1 from the dollar store, like sauce containers that, you know, that you buy for like a restaurant or your kitchen or whatever, and I'm just gonna soak the whole panel down with it. Not like soak it, but you know, soak it enough. And then so actively wherever I'm sanding at that moment, I'm gonna be just kind of dousing a little bit more and just getting nice kind of long strokes. I'm going kind of unidirectionally, so I'm gonna be doing this in mostly one direction just so the grain isn't all swirled and kind of weird looking. But I'm doing this mostly to kind of flatten down our little patch so that way it's able to blend well once we start polishing. But we're just going to go down the whole panel like this, just kind of spraying water wherever we're sanding. And you know, now that it's wet, dude, I really do think that patch looks like phenomenal. So I think we did a pretty bang up job with that. Cool, so then that's going to be the light sand. Again, I'm just going to hit everything. I'm not really concerned about the gas cap because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to be like kind of indiscriminately buffing and polishing all of this. So if the gas cap gets a few little marks in it, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world because it is going to get finished properly. So that's kind of how this looks. I'm going to hit our little patch a little bit more. I may need to actually get something a little bit more aggressive than 5000 for this. But I mean, you can see it's getting nice and smooth for the most part. And you can tell that we're through the clear because there's a little bit of red, and I apologize. I am wearing flip-flops. You know, it's early in the morning and I just wanted to get out here and start filming, spend some time relaxing. You know, I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, but since my first video and now, I have actually graduated from college, funny enough, with a bachelor's degree in biomedical science. So I'm taking a couple weeks just to spend some time doing the things I enjoy before I start working as a CNA and, you know, studying for the MCAT and prepping for med school. which, you know, I probably won't be making videos by then, you know, obviously, because I'm going to be very busy. But we'll see. This is, I mean, this is really just a video diary anyway. All right. Yeah, we still have a pretty good lip there. I may grab some 3000. Actually, you know what? That is relatively blended. That is relatively blended. I'm just gonna do some circular motions here. See, I can still feel it, so I don't know how big of an issue that's gonna cause. Yeah, I don't know. I may grab some 3000 here in just a second and try to take that down, maybe just a hair, just to get rid of the lip. But at any rate, so once I'm kind of done with that, again, I'm just going to kind of hose off the whole panel with the water, and then I'm going to come right behind it with my microfiber. I'm just going to kind of wipe up any debris, you know, any of the paint shavings or anything like that that have come off, and you'll see them in the microfiber. So yeah, I mean, it looks, you know, decent, looks fairly well blended, and I'm sure once the clear coat goes on, you know, all these kind of imperfections will be dealt with. Yeah, I still have just a little bit of a lip there, so yeah, I may grab some 3000, but that is the gist of what's going on with the actual sanding portion. If you just, you know, kind of repeat that yourself with, you know, starting at the 600 or whatever you think is necessary to get through your clear coat. I ended up going all the way down to 400, which is kind of why I ended up burning through that spot. So just stick to 6 if you'd like, and just be patient, and it should all turn out just fine. But that is how I do that, and just let it dry and then kind of inspect to see if you have any high or low spots or anything like that. Okay, so these are the products that I'm going to be using to kind of cut through this and hopefully polish everything up. So as you can see, I'm a pretty big Chemical Guys fan. We're going to be using their V-Series kind of mixed pack, and I'm also going to be using this clear cut compound, and then the pad conditioner that you're going to apply before you do everything, and then obviously you want to clean your pads afterwards, so that way they don't, you know, build up any kind of polish or cutting compound in there. That's going to be really difficult to remove later. So I will show you the setup for my rotary polisher in just 2 seconds after my pads dry. Alright, so now we are going to begin our cutting and polishing portion. So this is what we're going to be using first. It's the more aggressive cutting compound. I have my cutting orange pad attached to my rotary polisher. So I'm going to add a few spots of your cutting compound onto the pad. I do kind of like that star pattern. And then you're going to, I like to kind of put a couple spots of it just around the panel, just so everything goes on nice and evenly. And then you're going to hit it with a spray of your conditioner, and your pad conditioner. So just a very light misting with the pad conditioner. And then we're just going to start on some pretty low RPM. So as you can tell, several hours have elapsed, and this is the result we have so far. It's definitely better than it was. There's still some imperfections. I'm not really sure where those came from. This is just like a very rough cut. I've yet to like polish it, and I've kind of inadvertently discovered some low spots. But again, this was a very good color match, so I would just be filling everything in with that. I'm going to section off a spot from here to here. I'm just kind of covering that up. But you can see how flat this part is
comparatively, so I think we're doing a pretty good job. So tomorrow, I'll probably finish cutting this. I'm gonna prepare this tonight and then blend it in the morning, hopefully with the polishing compound and the rotary polisher. But I definitely think this is a good start. So we will see what happens once I get this section completed. Okay, so it is now very late. I finished polishing this. It's nearly done. I have some more cutting compound coming in tomorrow before I actually do like a really good final polish on it. I'm laying down some of the kind of base coat, for the low sections. I'm gonna throw another coat on here in about 5 minutes. Just kind of gonna let this tack up a little bit so it'll have something to stick to. I just, unfortunately, because it's so late, I'm having to do this with the walls up. It's kind of unfortunate just because I hope no bugs or anything land on it. But for it to dry tonight, and I am going to close the walls, and hopefully it remains pretty clear. But so far it's looking pretty good. Decent color match. I just went over the previous patch because I couldn't cut a piece of tape that was like perfectly sized, but I think it's gonna look just fine. All right, what's up, guys? It is officially day 3 of this project. It's gone on a lot longer than I anticipated, but I guess that's everything with working on cars. It's always gonna go on a little bit longer than you expected or anticipated, but you live and you learn. So this is where we kind of left off yesterday. I laid down this base coat, and for some odd reason it didn't go on very shiny, so I'm gonna try to blend that out today. That's actually what I'm planning on doing next. So I'm gonna blend this out and just kind of touch up some of these other little rough patches, and then I'm gonna, I got a little bit of overspray way up here, but yeah, I'm gonna blend that in, lay down some nice good polish, and hopefully double check up on this in a minute and see how well she laid down. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to that, and I will start this video up once everything has been polished out. That bird just scared the crap out of me. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this polish job. This is turned less into an instructional video and more into a descent into madness, but I'm gonna follow the same protocol as yesterday. Rotary sander, some pad conditioner, and a lot of clear cut compound. So I guess I'm gonna try to speed this clip up. If not, I'll figure that out when I get there. I'm not a professional editor, but hopefully I'll be able to speed it up. If not, actually, you know what? How about I just pause this here and make a second clip that's sped up. So this is after the paint blend. All right, if I just kind of pulled back, you'd have no idea where the patch was, but it starts here. And I blended it down to where there's essentially no lip. You can kind of see it at this angle, but I still have a little bit of work to do here. I have to patch this low spot, get a pin, patch this. But I mean, dude, for all intents and purposes, you genuinely can't tell. You know what I mean? I like a glance. You know what I mean? It's, like I said, not going for perfection here, but that's pretty freaking close, unintentionally. Whew. Okay, good. I guess still morning, everyone. It's day 4 now. Yesterday I got rained out, or like a really, really bad thunderstorm just showed up out of absolutely nowhere, and I had to disassemble my entire setup. So today I only threw the roof on because I'm just gonna be
painting, and I am wearing like a tank top out here today because it is in the 90s and I am burning to death. Looks like there may be another storm approaching. It's getting pretty cloudy and the breeze is picking up. But today we are going to be blending this patch that I started yesterday. The other patch blended really well. I mean, it's almost undetectable on camera where the blending is. So I'm really satisfied with that. But today the name of the game is to blend this little secondary patch that I set up yesterday. So I will be placing the camera here, making sure that's a good spot, and I will be speeding this section up surely. But I'm just going to kind of take you through my methods of kind of blending this little lip down, so that way I don't have a terrible lip to look at. But you know, like I said, I will be speeding this up, so I will catch you all in the next clip. Okay, so you can kind of use your fingernail to feel where the lip is. Honestly, I think my technique has improved a lot since yesterday, because this looks pretty good already. So I'm just going to polish that down, get rid of that kind of fisheye orange peely appearance, and then I think we'll be good to go. So I have kind of changed the product I'm using. I've switched away from the Chemical Guys V32, and I have opted for this Meguiar's really, you know, kind of aggressive cutting compound. And it's a little bit more cost effective, and it's getting me really good results. So, you know, why not? Because I'm gonna have a lot of panels to do. So might as well use the relatively efficient and cost-effective option. So same kind of principle applies that we've been doing. Get a nice bit of it on there, and kind of spot on. I used quite a bit. My mind just kind of went on autopilot. I'm only doing this very small section here, but you know what? Since we're here, we'll just do it all. All right, and I think without taking this anywhere professional, you know what, I think that's about as good as we're gonna get. Sorry, I'm still kind of recovering from whatever that sickness I had a couple days, whatever sickness I had a couple days ago. Jeez, I can't even speak. My mind is like mush. Anyway, here we go. Yeah, like I said, I think that's about as good as we're gonna get without taking it somewhere professional. But you know, I am not a professional, so I mean, you know, this is just how I would do it. You know, if I were you, and if anyone would like to follow my protocol here to get this done, you know, from a distance it looks all right. Yeah, I'm gonna have like a couple little patches here and there, but it definitely could be worse, you know, for someone doing it in their driveway. It's probably cope for looking like garbage, but you know, I think it doesn't look that bad. So I'm gonna get to polishing the rest of this panel, and I think it's almost time to hit it with the spray. Okay, so after several days of prep work, this is what we're left with. I am gonna leave like all the details to how I did this like in the descriptions, like a step-by-step, if you can follow along, because there's a lot of interruptions and things I've experienced over the past week. I'm still not feeling in tip-top shape. However, I am gonna try to get this out and at least leave as much detailed instruction as I can for you in the description, like literally just a step-by-step of exactly what to do, you know, fixing some of my own errors so you don't make the same ones. But let's get to it. Okay, well, I hope you can hear me okay, but this is just a PSA to wear your PPE. You're dealing with some really nasty organic compounds. Definitely cause some irritations, but I'm gonna tack it down one more time, and I guess get to going.
door now. I was going to do this as a short, but I ended up just including it in this video. The rear quarter panel's done, so I'm going to move on to the door now. And I'll kind of show you some of my adaptive technique for using a cheaper gun. So the first coat doesn't matter as much, it's always the second coat that's a bit more important. Okay, so it's been roughly 5 minutes since the last coat. We're going to lay on the second coat, a little bit thicker and a little bit tighter. We're still maintaining a distance of 3 to 4 inches. That was coat number 2, it's looking good. I am going to go with 3 coats just so, because there's a little bit of fisheye in it right now, I'm going to go with 4 coats just so whenever I go back to correct all of it, I'll have a little bit of depth to play with. Time for coat number 3.
Can we do it?
Alright, coat number 4 is going on.
So here is the final result, well almost final result of this quarter panel here after some cutting, just to kind of get rid of some of the orange peel effect. There are some spots I'm going to go back and recover, but honestly I don't think it's bad at all, especially for a front yard job that I did with some very middle of the road kind of clear coat, and also some very middle of the road skill. Actually I had 0 skill upon entering this project. I was all self-taught in about 3 days before I started the project, so honestly it's not half bad. So I'm gonna now kind of take you through the step-by-step of wet sanding this. This is the before. You can see some of the orange peel effect in the paint. So I'm going to take you through exactly how to take this down and get it to as close of a mirror as we can, similar to this. Right, so there are a few things to take into consideration before you kind of begin this leg of the project. So the first thing to definitely take into consideration is the flash time for the particular clear coat you're using. So I'm saying this like I know what I'm talking about, but this is purely just kind of what I've educated myself with over the past couple days. But the specific flash time for your clear coat, you could Google it, or it's more than likely going to be on the spec sheet of whatever clear coat you're using. So you're definitely going to want to wait the appropriate amount of time before you go sanding. Otherwise you're going to get this like nasty clumping, you know, because it hasn't fully cured yet. Next thing to take into consideration is the grit of the sandpaper you're going to be using. I am opting for a 2500 grit just because it's not extremely abrasive, but you know, I do have some pretty significant orange peel here, so I am going to want to cut through it. And I also did 4 layers thick of clear coat just once I noticed that the orange peel was kind of starting to come up on the other panel, so I gave myself a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of a margin of error. So I added an additional layer so I can cut through it nicely. You can use a sanding block, like a nice soft sanding block, so it contours to the shape of the car. I'm just going to do it by hand again because I have enough confidence in this kind of margin of error that I give myself that I'm not going to cut all the way through. It's a very thick layer because I peeled this tape up and I can feel it's decently thick. And again, something else to consider is you're always going to want to wet sand when you're using such a fine grit sandpaper, just because these very fine, you know, pieces of like grit in the sandpaper, it's going to get clogged very easily, especially if this is still kind of tacky and gummy. It's going to get clogged very easily. So you're going to want to keep it wet, keep your surface wet, just so it kind of clears out these, you know, very small abrasive grits in the sandpaper. So that's everything that you need to take into consideration. And the final thing I'm probably gonna cut this and, you know, kind of sand it down so you can see what I'm talking about. But leave yourself some room here. Like, don't sand it till the whole thing is gray. You'll kind of see, you'll have like a kind of a tiger sharky kind of pattern in this once you really get down through everything. Well, not down through everything, but you know, once you kind of work into some of the orange peel, you'll start to see that come up. So I'll show you what that looks like, so that way whenever you go back through and polish it, again, you're kind of leaving yourself some wiggle room, so that way you don't inadvertently go all the way through the paint, or go all the way through your fresh clear coat, because that's kind of the whole thing that we've redone with this project. So I'll show you what that looks like when the time comes, but for now I am going to get to sanding this panel. Okay, so now that I have used my first water bottle to wet sand this panel, hopefully now I can kind of articulate what I mean by the tiger shark effect without sounding like a crazy person. You know, if just a little bit of background on myself. If you guys didn't know, I'm a biologist, so I kind of see animals and everything. I guess more accurately, I'm a biomedical scientist by degree. Okay, by degree. Anyway, it's kind of irrelevant to what I'm talking about now. But you see, this pattern kind of looks like a tiger shark or like a cheetah or something. You know, some kind of like animal. But anyway, if I get closer here, you can see these more shiny areas. So these are the low patches. So these are the areas that have not been sanded yet. And these areas that are kind of dull, obviously these are the, you know, the peaks as opposed to the valleys. And this is what the sandpaper is kind of knocking down. And you don't want to get it completely flat like this area here. If you have like really bad orange peel like mine did, because, you know, obviously you have no way to gauge, you know, how deep some of these valleys are. So honestly, once you get to about this level, you're probably good to go. But you know, this panel had significantly less orange peeling than the rear quarter panel. So I'm going to be getting some more of these flat patches more frequently. So I guess that kind of sums that up, but I will show you kind of what stage you should be at before you pick your rotary polisher or DA sand or whatever you got back up to polish this to a beautiful mirror finish. Okay, so realistically, this is about where you'd want it. We have some very like minimal areas of the tiger sharking effect. You know, like I said, this panel had like significantly less orange peel than the other one. So it is, you know, completely flat in some areas. And, you know, I must admit, I did pick up the 5000 grit just to kind of make the work of the rotary polisher just a little bit easier. But this is generally where you'd want to be after your sanding phase. You know, obviously there's still some valleys visible within the clear coat, and that's about where you want to be before you begin your rotary polishing. So I'm going to show you kind of one quick pass by. You know, I'm going to tape this off maybe and just kind of show you the difference after one pass with some cutting compound. Okay, so I can't remember if I addressed this earlier because it has been like about a week and a half into filming this whole project, but I have switched to this McGuire's cutting compound from the Chemical Guys stuff. It is like slightly more abrasive, which I do like. I picked these up on Amazon for like 11 bucks a piece, had it shipped straight to my house. So I'm going to show you what just a very quick bout of polishing can do for this panel. So I've applied just a bit to the polisher, I've conditioned the pad, and now I'm just going to kind of pat it on here. I'm just going to do this small section, just kind of landmark it by this area where the mirror used to be, and set it on low speed. Okay, so obviously you're going to want to go for a little bit longer than that, but I'm going to show you this just for the purpose of the video. I mean, already you can see how well that's improved over this here. I mean, and again, I'm fighting the rain, but you can see just the level of clarity that we get just from a few seconds really of polishing. So I'm going to go ahead and polish this whole door up just to kind of, you know, that was a very brief just kind of demonstration on, you know, roughly what you want to do. and I will show you the finished product once I am finished. Well, this is the final product. Well, basically the final product. There is still some cutting and polishing that I could do in some areas, but this is the job. I mean, you can see the transition from stock panel to what I did. It's pretty good. Some of the patches are visible. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and try to say it's perfect. And you know, as I was peeling the tape off, a piece came off with it, so that is something you should definitely do, is take the tape off a little bit sooner than I did. But overall, I mean, this is easily patchable. I already had the aerosol 2K that I'm gonna patch that with. But overall, I'm honestly really satisfied. It looks a lot better than it did with just completely peeling clear coat here and this completely oxidized tip. So I think overall, definitely improved the look of the car, and it was significantly cheaper than taking it somewhere and having it done, you know, quote unquote professionally. But I think it looks all right for a front yard job.